Hey guys, and happy 4th of July. Tomorrow we celebrate the independence of our nation. And I thought, what better topic when we're celebrating Independence Day than firearms? That's right. What's more American on Independence Day than talking about firearms? For some time now, I've been talking about NFA Trust, also known as Gun Trust. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how those work. And then you can enjoy your Independence Day with some comfort in understanding your rights when it comes to firearms. Now, a couple of things I thought was interesting. I just wrote an article that I've submitted to a couple of local places. I may or may not publish it, but it's something I was interested in, so I researched it and wrote an article about it. And basically, it's to what extent our firearm rights actually extend. So this would be part one of this video. It's just covering generally your right to bear arms. So originally, when the federal Constitution was drafted, pre-Civil War, it didn't apply to the states, not all of it anyway. So basically, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, did not apply directly to the states. They applied to the federal Constitution and then arguably federal properties like the District of Columbia and whatnot. So there was some heavy litigation early on for several years over whether or not individuals actually had a right to bear arms. And there's arguments that people used to make over that it was originally intended, the right to bear arms was for militiamen, it wasn't necessarily for the general citizen and whatever. So over time, the Supreme Court has ruled that the individual does have a right to bear arms under the Second Amendment. And the Second Amendment, this is all kind of recent too, the Second Amendment does apply to the states. There's some case law on that. District of Columbia v. Heller basically held that on federal properties and for the purposes of the federal government, like in District of Columbia and whatnot, citizens couldn't be restricted from owning firearms. They couldn't straight up just be prevented from it for the purposes of self-defense. It specifically carved out self-defense. Later case, they held that basically self-defense was fundamental to the nation's ordered liberty or some language like that. So basically, for the purpose of self-defense, that on the federal level, this is applied to federal constitution, that you couldn't prevent citizens, just a Joe Blow citizen, from owning firearms. Didn't directly apply to the states. And that was followed up in 2010 by a case, McDonald v. City of Chicago, Illinois, very similar issue. And that's where they said that through the 14th Amendment, the Second Amendment does apply to the states. So, with all that out of the way, all that means, all that lawyer talk and case law, it means that individual citizens in each state do have a right to bear arms under the federal Constitution. However, the federal Constitution and states can restrict those rights to some degree for various reasons, to benefit the public. And that's kind of the topic of this video is under NFA, which is the National Firearms Act of 1968, the NFA, that act regulates certain types of firearms and certain types of apparatus, accessories and whatnot, like silencers and things like that. I pulled a few of the items up. The NFA guidelines regulate possession, how you would own or possess Thompson submachine guns, AK-47 assault rifles, sawed-off shotguns, mortars, different types of explosive devices, silencers, those type of things. So there's a whole list, and I can put you the link. It's real simple to find. You go to the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms website, and they've got a whole list of things that are regulated. So basically, here's what the NFA Trust is. So you as a citizen can apply to own these different regulated weapons and weapon accessories, and it's not too hard. You pay the fee and you can get approval to own them. You can pay us and we can do it too, but that's probably something you guys can do on your own. The problem grows where then if you were to pass away or try to get rid of those items by whatever method, if you pass away, then you have an estate that any property that you own would maybe go into. The problem is whoever's the beneficiary of your estate may not be approved through the ATF to be an owner of those NFA weapons. Okay, so I know it's complicated, but basically you are approved to own those weapons, but your children or your wife or whoever may not be approved unless they are approved by the ATF through some other means. So what the wise thing to do is you create a trust, and we call it a gun trust, but it's really a trust. And through an NFA, a properly drafted NFA trust, then when you pass away, the trust is funded already by whatever these NFA weapons are, these regulated weapons you have and accessories. And the trustees of that NFA trust can then possess those weapons, sort of. The trust really possesses them, but you don't have to go through the red tape you have to go through if it was just, them having to be cleared by the ATF to own those firearms. So there are different ways to establish those trusts. It's very stringent, though, the way that, I shouldn't say there's different ways, because it is a very stringent way that you're supposed to establish these trusts with the ATF. And that's, again, why most people hire lawyers to do it, because it's our job to cross the T's and dot the I's, so to speak. But if you own any of these weapons, or if you were interested in owning any of these weapons, feel free to email us or contact us at the numbers below, and our office does do these trusts. As far as cost, what they cost, it varies. I'm not going to quote you a cost because everyone's different. If you only have a silencer, versus 30 weapons, then obviously that's going to be more work for us to do the paperwork, and that kind of depends on what the cost is. But that's really all it is. It's a trust. It's setting up a trust, but it's setting it up through the provisions provided under the NFA Act and then, of course, the regulations of ATF. So you want to make sure you get those right. We do guarantee that we will get them approved. In other words, they're not always approved, but if we draft them, we do at least guarantee you that if it's not approved, we'll continue to work till it is, try to get it just right for you, or we'll refund the money that you paid us to do it because it was a waste of your time, pretty much. As always, if you have any questions concerning gun trusts or anything else, feel free to call or comment or whatever. I've been getting several messages about requests for different videos. I appreciate that. I'm going to follow up on those and try to appease your interest. And I hope you have a good 4th of July weekend. All joking aside, I hope you do have a very safe 4th of July weekend. You might want to review my how to avoid being pulled over or how to get out of a DUI videos this 4th of July weekend. But be safe. Don't drink and drive. Be safe with the fireworks and everything you got. If you need something legally, feel free to holler at us. I even had a guy the other day that came up with a signal. We'll just call you CH. He was like, when I walk in the court, he does like, I can't even do it like he does it. It's like this little thing. Anyway, he says it means the Kickin Lawyer. So until then, we'll see you next time.